Now, you had written about China's relationship with Russia. And this is, of course, at a time when it has its own relationship with the West and US in particular. I mean, there is an ongoing rivalry between the US and China. And there's a lot that has happened on the geopolitical front. So, how do you see China sort of emerging out of this, and what sort of policies it might adopt with respect to the West, even in Europe and the various other powers that we see?
So, China has been following the debacle, if I may put it that way, in Ukraine. Initially it was assumed, especially by Russia, by Putin, that it's going to be a quick victory. We go in and we destroy everything, we come back with a quick victory. But that did not really happen. There have been a lot of talks about whether there was a collusion between China and Russia on this entire debacle in Ukraine. I would say, and even US intelligence has said it, that there was definitely a collusion. Days before Putin actually sent in the Russian army into Ukraine, there was a reduction or a complete withdrawal of troops from the Russia-China border, because they were required to be elsewhere. So there was definitely a talk, and Putin felt comfortable that, China is not really going to do anything which is not amicable to Russia, and they could put in, move those number of soldiers into Ukraine. So there was definitely a discussion, and as all of us know, on February 4th, the two sides talked about this no limits partnership between the two countries. So there's definitely a collusion between the two. Does China benefit from sticking to Russia, or does it really want to move away? China is actually finding itself in a very tricky situation at the moment. If you look at China's response to the entire crisis in Ukraine, it's largely a three-pronged approach. On the diplomatic front, it's been ambiguous, it's been abstaining to show that it does not really want to take sides, it's a responsible power, etc. But the conversations, telephonic conversations which Xi Jinping and Putin have, the content of it shows otherwise, because they talk about sovereignty, respecting boundaries, etc. Secondly, domestically, while China, internationally has been abstaining, the state-controlled media and the social media have been throwing in their weight behind Putin, saying that what Putin is doing is right and he's taking on Western hegemony, etc., etc. There's a complete support of Russia within China. Thirdly, Ukraine is an important player, is an important node in the BRI. So China cannot let go of it completely. Now, if you look at trade and economic rise has been the linchpin of China's rise as an important player in international politics. How much trade does China have with Russia? Minuscule as compared to the trade that it has with the US and with the EU. So it would not want to burn its economic bridges, especially not now when its GDP growth rate, as predicted by the IMF, is somewhere around 2.5%. China finds itself in a very difficult position. It is only hanging on, or it's showing some sort of bonhomie with Russia because they have a common enemy in the West and in the US, and that's about it. Even before 2020, even before February 24th happened, there were a lot of lingering issues between Russia and China. And I'll just give one example: demographic changes in the Far East. Because so much of Chinese labor had gone in. Russians are also pretty strong, and they're also they really love their language and their culture, just the way that the Chinese do. So they did not really love the demographic changes. Language has been Russian language has been wiped out. You see posters and hoardings and writings in Chinese. So that's one issue. China's outreach into Central Asia, which was traditionally Russia's backyard, again, not acceptable. These were outstanding issues between Russia and China. But February 24th happened. They have a common enemy in the West. So China is in a pretty difficult situation right now. And it wasn't a decisive victory for Russia, which is saddening for China, to say the least, because they would have probably wanted the same sort of, if Russia really had the decisive victory, probably they would have drawn lessons and keeping their own situations in mind, thought of doing something similar, getting a quick decisive victory in Taiwan. But that hasn't really happened. So China is in a difficult position right now.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.